His divine grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Stoka. Yeah. Skan Samstapatacharya. Savior of the whole world, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jai Ho. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Ram Chaiva Narottama Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 13, the Dynasty of Maharaj Nimi. Text number 12. Deham mamantu sma nimehe. Deham mamantu sma nimehe. Kumaraha samajayata. Kumara samajayata. Arajaka bhayam rina manyamana maharchayaha. Deham mamantusmanime kumara samajayata. Arajaka bhayam rina manyamana maharchayaha. Eham mamantusmanime kumara samajayata. Arajaka bhayam rina manyamana maharchayaha. Deham mamantusmanime kumara samajayata. Arajaka bhayam rina manyamana maharchayaha. Deham mamantusmanime kumara samajayata. Arajaka bhayam, due to fear of the danger of an unregulated government. Rina, for the people in general. Manyamanaha, considering this situation. Maharshayaha, The great sages, Deham, the body, Amantu, churned, Sma, in the past, Nimehe, of Maharaj Nimi, Kumaraha, one son, Samajayata, was thus born. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Thereafter, to save the people from the danger of an unregulated government, the sages churned Maharaj Nimi's material body, from which, as a result, his son was born. Please repeat this translation. Thereafter, to save the people from the danger of an unregulated government, the sages churned Maharaj Nimi's material body, from which, as a result, his son was born. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Arajaka bhayam. If the government is unsteady and unregulated, there is danger of fear for the people. At the present moment, this danger always exists because of government by the people. Here we can see that the great sages got a son from Nimi's material body to guide the citizens properly. For such guidance is the duty of a Kshatriya king. A Kshatriya is one who saves the citizens from being injured. In the so-called people's government, there is no trained Kshatriya king. As soon as someone strong accumulates votes, he becomes the minister or president without training from the learned Brahmanas, expert in the Shastras. Indeed, we see that in some countries, the government changes from party to party, and therefore the men in charge of the government are more eager to protect their position than to see that the citizens are happy. The Vedic civilization prefers monarchy. People like the government of Lord Ramachandra, the government of Maharaj Yudhishthira, and the government of Maharaj Parikshit, Maharaj Ambarisha, and Maharaj Prahlada. There are many instances of excellent government under a monarch. Gradually, the democratic government is becoming unfit for the needs of the people, and therefore some parties are trying to elect a dictator. A dictatorship is the same as a monarchy, but without a trained leader. Actually, people will be happy when a trained leader, whether a monarch or a dictator, takes control of the government and rules the people according to the standard regulations of the authorized scriptures. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Srimate Bhaktivedanta Namaste Saraswate Devi Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama. This is a very interesting chapter in which it is described how one great emperor, Maharaj Nimi, he died untimely before he could have a son who would be trained to take charge of ruling the kingdom after the father retires or the father quits post. So under the circumstances, the sages who are performing sacrifice on behalf of Maharaj Nimi, they wanted to revive Maharaj Nimi's body, and they even appealed to the Devatas who were present in the sacrifice. So the Devatas agreed, yes, Maharaj Nimi deserves to continue to live because he was wrongly cursed by Vasishta to die untimely. So they were ready to revive the body, but Maharaj Nimi refused. Again enter another material body, because his goal was fixed to get out of material existence after putting this present body. So since he got an opportunity to quit the body even earlier than the normal lifespan, so he decided he is not going to again enter the material body. Then what about the kingdom? So the sages began to consider how the people can be saved from the danger of an unregulated government, arajaka. When there is no suitable successor for a king, the sages and the brahmanas who are advisors, they become concerned how the kingdom will be ruled by a suitable personality. The brahmanas never take charge of ruling, though they advise the king how to rule. They are learned, but they are not suitable for occupying the throne, because in the scriptures it is said only a kshatriya who is trained and is qualified can occupy the post of a king. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna clearly describes such a kshatriya's qualifications. The 18th chapter, 43rd verse. Shauryam tejo dhritir dakshyam yuddhe cha api apalayanam danam ishvara bhavascha kshatram karma swabhavajam. The meaning of this verse is Shauryam, heroism, tejaha, power, dhritihi, determination, dakshyam, resourcefulness, then danam, yuddhe cha api apalayanam, yuddhe cha api apalayanam, courage in battle, and danam, generosity, ishvara bhavascha, leadership, are the qualities of work for the kshatriyas. 7 qualities are mentioned here. So unless somebody has got these 7 qualities and is trained properly by learned brahmanas, one is not a fit candidate for occupying the post of a king. So the brahmanas, they are not having these qualifications, even though they are learned. But actually to rule, they should have this power to actually face the enemy, or they should have the courage to fight in the battle. Yuddhecha api apalayanam means a properly qualified Kshatriya, when he is challenged, he boldly fights and he is ready to lay down his life if required, actually win the battle. So such powerful Kshatriyas are definitely not there in the present times. So Prabhupada says, at the present moment, this danger always exists for the people. There's always the danger of fear, arajaka bhayam, because of the government by the people. The person who occupies the top post of the ruler in the present time is somebody who just gathers votes. So this is the most improper way of selecting a person to rule the country or the state, because there is no consideration of qualification, neither there is consideration of training for ruling the state or the country. Whereas when in the Vedic times, there was always a Kshatriya who was trained to rule the kingdom. It was called monarchy. And monarchy means one person. He assumes power to rule the kingdom or the country or the state or the province. And he is guided by learned Brahmanas. He himself is trained. Learned Brahmanas guide him. And he has got all the qualifications to fight in a battle, if challenged, if required. So Srila Prabhupada is pointing out in this present age, because of lack of qualified Kshatriya, people are not happy. Neither they are properly protected, nor they are properly governed. And even the people who are in power, because they may lose the popularity, they are very eager to protect their position some or the other, rather than attend to the needs of the citizens or the people they are governing. So many times Srila Prabhupada points out that there was excellent government under a monarch in the former times. We can read about that in the scriptures. Many examples have been given. The government of Lord Ramachandra, the government of Maharaj Yudhishthira, the government of Maharaj Parikshit, Maharaj. Excellent government. Because they had the qualifications and they were trained. So under the circumstances, what is the present circumstances? What is the alternative? That's why scriptures say there is no possibility that in Kali Yuga we can have a properly trained Kshatriya. Because in Kali Yuga, most people are born with the Shudra quality. Unless somebody is born with a certain acquired nature, they cannot be trained. They cannot be trained without the particular nature. Like it says here, Krishna says, Kshatram karma swabhavajam. Swabhavajam means born of his own nature. Everyone is born with a certain acquired nature, depending on the association with the gunas in the previous life. So if people are born with Shudra quality, then they cannot be trained to become proper Kshatriyas. Though anybody can be trained to become a good devotee of Krishna. Training for becoming a devotee is possible under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master by the process of devotional service. But it is not possible to train somebody to become a proper Kshatriya. Because Kshatriya requires to have that courage, the power to rule. Without such qualifications, nobody can actually properly rule the kingdom or the state. So, for the present time, which the scriptures advise, people should simply practice devotional service, not be much concerned whether the garment is suitable or unsuitable. In most cases, the garment will not be suitable. Conditions will not be so favorable for having a good garment. In any case, the material world is declared to be a place where it is always filled with miseries. It is a temporary place. However much we may make adjustments and try to live peacefully, nicely, we cannot live permanently here. So since anyway the life is temporary in this material body, in this material world, the scriptures direct us to actually prepare ourselves to go back to God. So since the goal is going back to God, it does not matter whether there is a qualified person who is ruling properly. So therefore, the scriptures don't advise that we have to strive to get a qualified ruler or somebody should occupy a ruler's post. Nowhere the scriptures are advising like that. Harer nama harernamaiva kevalam. Kalau nastyeva. In Kali Yuga, there is no other way other than chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord and making spiritual progress to achieve the perfection of life. Very easily. However, the conditions may be unfavorable. Still, chanting is very, very effective under all circumstances. conditions. Chanting is very good. And Srila Prabhupada demonstrated this. He traveled all over the world, and particularly in the communist countries where there was very bad government. But the people who took to Krishna consciousness, they were successful in practicing Krishna consciousness, becoming first-class devotees. And that's the success in life, no matter what kind of government somebody has. To become a devotee by practicing bhakti, particularly by chanting Hare Krishna and perfecting one's devotional service, is the only recommended method of dealing with the situation in Kali. Kali dosha nidhe rajan asti hyeko mahan guna kirtanad eva krishnasya mukta sangha param. Even Shukadeva Goswami is specifically advising that Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. It's not just that there is only one problem people are having, not having a proper living. There are so many other faults. So it's an ocean of faults. So when there are so many faults, you cannot set right the conditions by attempting to correct the faults. It's not possible. Simply take to Krishna Kirtana, chanting the holy name, and one can become completely freed from the bad influence, Mukta Sangha, so much so that chanting will make us immune to the prevailing unfavorable conditions. Not only the unfavorable conditions because of the external atmosphere, but also the unfavorable conditions because of our own mind. Our own mind. So we should also remember that our mind is our greatest disqualification. That's why scriptures say, don't attempt to practice silent meditation. Why? Because our mind is not properly situated for doing this silent meditation. Whereas when we chant japa loudly, then the sound will actually help us to, the transcendental sound will help us to overcome the mind, which is totally uncontrolled. Specifically in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna tells Krishna, Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramathi balavadrudam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. To control the mind, even Arjuna is admitting, was living in a different age, yuga, when conditions were not so bad as in Kali Yuga. And Arjuna was highly qualified compared to any of us in Kali Yuga. In spite of having a much better external situation and also being qualified in so many ways, Arjuna admitted that the system of silent meditation is not suitable for controlling the mind. The whole practice of Ashtanga Yoga is to control the mind. It's to control the mind. And that mind control is not practically possible for majority of the people. Some rare person may, even in Kali Yuga, be successful in controlling the mind through this Ashtanga Yoga system. But it is not recommended for the majority of the people, especially those who are living in cities. It is impossible to practice Ashtanga Yoga living in a city atmosphere. So therefore, particularly for city people and for people in general, it is recommended that they take up this chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra and thereby very easily learn to control the mind by this process of chanting Hare Krishna. How is chanting more effective in controlling the mind than any other process? It is because Lord Krishna has incarnated as the sound, in the sound form of the Hare Krishna mantra. It is Krishna's incarnation whom we have to take shelter to save ourselves in this Kali Yuga. So this incarnation is most merciful incarnation, that even when Krishna personally came 5,000 years back, Krishna demanded that you surrender and you will get Krishna's protection. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam praja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha. So Krishna is assuring, yes, I will free you from all sinful reactions, I will give you full protection, but you surrender to me alone. So in Kali Yuga, people are not inclined to surrender. So therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching us that some or the other, even people, if they don't surrender Krishna, but they just chant Krishna's name, they somehow vibrate their tongue and chant the holy name of Krishna, the Hare Krishna. Then Krishna in the form of Lord Chaitanya is going to deliver people from this material existence simply if they agree to chant Hare. This is the special mercy of the Supreme Lord Krishna, who has appeared as Chaitanya. And therefore, the followers of Lord Chaitanya, those who are sincere followers, they follow this process of chanting, and they also spread this message that somehow people take to this chanting of Hare Krishna and thereby save themselves. And it's very, very effective. You can practically see all kinds of people who are otherwise not qualified for spiritual life, simply by chanting Hare Krishna, they become very, very pious. Shrunvatam swakatha Krishna punya shravanati. People become pious. Even those who are not pious, those who are impious, they also become pious if they simply begin to chant Hare. The beginning itself is so very effective. Very quickly one can see results by chanting Hare Krishna. Therefore, the scriptures are stressing Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam. 3 times this is said, and it is also stressed Hare Nama Eva, only by chanting. In Kali Yuga, it is possible to achieve perfection of human form of life only by chanting, and there is no other way. That is also mentioned. Kalau nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva. 3 times. To confirm that there is no other way other than chanting. Therefore, it is very, very unfortunate that so many other so-called religious institutions or spiritual organizations are teaching so many other things except chanting of Hare. They are misleading people. They themselves are in ignorance and they are spreading this ignorance more and more. I think there is no need for anybody to spread ignorance, because the atmosphere in Kali Yuga is that there is widespread ignorance and it's only increasing. Even so-called learned people are actually going from darkness to more darkness. Material advancement of civilization means people are becoming more and more befooled by the material energy. Material energy is simply meant to cover our real knowledge. Avidya, karma, samya, anyat triya shakti. The description in the Vishnu Purana. Krishna has got 3 energies, of which the most dangerous energy is this material energy, Triya Shakti. It forces us to go into ignorance, avidya. Avidya means darkness of ignorance. And karma, and we engage in fruitive activities by which we become more and more entangled in the complexities of nature. By birth in material world, we are bound, already bound. But by performing karma, we become more and more and more bound. That people are not aware. Even the so-called religionists and spiritualists who are not following the right process, they are simply becoming more and more bound up. They are going from ignorance to more ignorance, deeper into ignorance. So, very dangerous age in this sense. Kali Yuga is a very dangerous age. But the easy process of chanting Hare Krishna is also available. Out of compassion for the suffering souls, the Supreme Lord personally has come, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he has brought the Hare Krishna mantra to distribute this Hare Krishna mantra. Of course, the Hare Krishna mantra was always there, even before Chaitanya appearance, Lord Chaitanya's appearance. Hare Krishna mantra is always there, eternally there, available. But he particularly propagated this chanting of Hare Krishna among all sections of people in this world. He even demonstrated that living beings lower than humans can also take to this chanting and benefit. While he was passing through Jharikanda forest on his way to Vrindavan, he was traveling from Puri to Vrindavan. On the way, he had to pass through Jharikanda forest. In the forest, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made wild animals chant and dance to the chanting of Hare Krishna. So, if even somebody lower than humans can take up chanting Hare Krishna, then why not human beings? This should be the logic should apply. So any human being, irrespective of what their situation or position is, they can simply take up chanting Hare Krishna and they can perfect their mind. It's a fact. 100% fact. Some or the other, if they chant and chant and chant. Of course, because we are covered by the dense darkness of this age of Kali, so it requires some time to see the effect of chanting Hare Krishna in terms of getting enlightened, cleansing our heart. It takes some time, but no other process is as effective as Srimad says in cleansing the heart of all the material contamination, chanting the Hare Krishna. So therefore, the Bhagavatam particularly recommends this chanting of the holy name of the Supreme Lord as the most effective method. The sages of Naimisharanya are very anxious about the forthcoming Kali Yuga. What is the hope for people in Kali Yuga to be saved from the onslaught of Maya, material existence? How can they be saved from material suffering due to material existence? So Suta Goswami gives assurance that this appearance of the Supreme Lord in the form of His holy name is the only solution for people. That is what is elaborately explained in the Bhagavatam. Very elaborately explained that chanting of the holy name is the only way. Kirtanad eva Krishna said, is the conclusion, the end of the Bhagavatam by Shukadeva Goswami. Kirtanad eva Krishna syam. So that's what the Bhagavatam is teaching. That's what Krishna also teaches in the Bhagavad Gita. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivi prakriti ashrita bhajanti ananya gyatva bhutani. Those who are devotees, they are under the protection of the internal potency, the spiritual potency. And the characteristic of such a person is that such a person is engaged in devotional service to Krishna. And what form of devotional service? That also Krishna says, Satatam kirtayanto ma. They are constantly engaged in Krishna Kirtana. The same instruction which Shukadeva Goswami gives in the Bhagavatam is given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Satatam kirtayanto. Same thing Krishna, Shukadeva Goswami says. Kirtanad eva Krishnasya. So, this Krishna Kirtana is the method. This is also recommended, especially for Kali. Therefore, our request is that somehow people take up chanting of Hare Krishna, japa, and even japa is specifically mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. Yajnanam japa yajñosmi, the 10th chapter, describing his opulences in this material world. Krishna says, among all the types of yajna, the best form of yajna is japa yajna, the sacrifice of chanting the holy name is the best yajna. Sankirtan yajna or japa yajna. So either as japa or as sankirtana or as both the forms, we should take up seriously chanting of the Hare Krishna and save ourselves from the evil influence of this Kali Kalmashanasham. This Hare Krishna mantra can effectively destroy the Kali Kalmasha, the evil influence of Kali. Otherwise, everywhere around us we can see those who are not engaged in chanting Hare Krishna, how they are being slaughtered by the influence, evil influence. So many instances, people becoming victim of this age of Kali. So different ways. Even pious people, they are also becoming victim of so many dangers of Kali Yuga. So therefore, to save ourselves and to help others save themselves, we have to ourselves chant this Hare Krishna mantra, spread the message of chanting. Stop here. Bhagavatam ki jai. Some announcements. We are celebrating auspicious appearance day of Lord Sri Krishna on 18th and 19th. Sri Krishna Janmashtami. We will have Abhishekam for Sri Krishna Balaram on both the days, 18th and 19th, followed by many other special sevas. Devotees will be observing fasting on 19th August till midnight. After that, they'll be breaking the fast with Anukalpa Prasadam. Then we'll be celebrating Vyas Puja, that is the appearance day or anniversary of Srila Prabhupada, on 20th of August, Saturday, the following day. There will be Abhishek to deity of Srila Prabhupada at 6 p.m., followed by offering of Vyas Puja book, Guru Puja, and dinner Prasadam. We'll be also having Vyas Puja Smaran festival on 28th August, following Sunday, after the Vyas Puja. From 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., devotees get an opportunity to read their offerings to Srila Prabhupada on this particular